Hello, thank you for joining us today. We will be working on creating a multi-year fall third grade item analysis. I'm Bryan Hollinger from the Starr County Educational Service Center, and we'll walk you through this process today. In order to do this, you'll need to have access to the centralized reporting system and the online reporting system. With that being said, the online reporting system will be available until January 14th, 2022. So we know that it will be closing very shortly. You will still be able to create the item analysis, but will not have access to the years fall 2018, fall 2019, and fall 2020 after January 14th, 2022. So let's go ahead and walk through this process. We've created a Word doc that you can access by typing in this bit.ly link that you will see in teal that says bit.ly/2021 fall analysis. As you're typing that in, please make sure that capitals are correct. Otherwise, you may end up at a different link. But this will give you the Word document, and that's basically what we'll do is we'll just go through the steps on that Word document to guide you through this process. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to make the general template that you see here. So in order to do that, you'll have this little chip right here that says template-2021 fall third grade ELA item analysis. If you click on that, it will ask you to make a copy from there. And then what you can do is once you do that, then you'll have your own version. And it'll look similar to what we see right here below. It'll have a couple of tabs on it. It'll have an import tab, a fall 2021, and then a grade 3 ELA analysis tab as well. So once you do that, then we're ready to go get some information that we need from the centralized reporting system to put in there. So for that, there is a link to kind of get you a little there a little faster than having to go through all the steps that we normally go through. So the URL is a little bit longer. You can see it posted right here. Once you make it there, you're going to click on the tile that says centralized reporting system. You'll be asked to log in using your email address and your tied password. And then you'll also be asked to select a role. So, TEDA, building test coordinator, something like that. You're going to pick the role. If you only have one role, you may not be asked that question. So it kind of just depends on what access you have in Tide. All right, our next step then is we're going to select a test. So we have our third grade Ohio State ELA test will be in there. There'll be a tile there for that. If you do it currently, it's probably one, there may only be one or two tiles there to choose from. If you're doing this a little bit later, after we created this video, there may be a few more to choose from. So if we go ahead and click on the tile here that says Ohio State Test ELA, what we'll get is we'll get a new screen that pops up. And on that, there'll be an option of grade 3 English language arts with a magnifying glass next to it. And then there'll be an export symbol next to that. We're going to click on this export symbol right here. And in doing that, we get a pop-up screen that's going to ask us what type of report we would like to create. So we're going to choose the third option. It's going to say overall test, reporting category, and item performance for all students. And then what I did is ordinarily this says select schools. I changed it to all schools because as I do this, I'm going to be looking at it from a district steps, but you could create this for a school as well if you want to do it for a school instead of as a district. I'm then going to come down here and where it says select export file type, I'm going to select CSV. and then I will select Export Assessment Data. You'll get one more pop-up window, and on that pop-up window, it's just basically telling you what you selected, making sure that you want to export that or create a spreadsheet for that. So we're going to select yes. And then when we do that, it's going to take us right to the it's going to take us right to our inbox. And with that, what you're probably going to find in there is it's not going to open right away. It's going to say that it's processing. You may have to close that out and come back in for it to actually be able to click on this link here. But you should have a link that says something like this: item performance by student for all schools on grade 3 English language arts. All right. So once we're able to click on that, we'll bring it up. It will load as a spreadsheet, and it may look a little bit messier than this. So this is my version. I kind of spread it out a little bit. This is some fake data in here so that we'll use to create ours. But what we're going to see here is I just spread it out so you could see what some of these columns are. It looks a little bit nicer. They're probably a little bit smaller on yours when you first use them. Okay, so now that we have that file, let's talk about what we need to pull from that file. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to find columns X through BE. This is where your student performance information is. So we can see column X through BE. And what we're going to do is we're going to want to pull our student data files. So our student data performance information there. These scores are mostly going to be zeros and ones. You could have some higher numbers in there, especially when it comes to the writing question or in some of the sections where it's like a raw score. It's the total that they got correct in that section. So you could see some higher numbers, but mostly you're going to see zeros and ones in there. Now, the student information is going to start probably somewhere between row 16 and row 20. So if I back up a slide, you're going to see that right down here in this example, I would actually start with row 17 in the example that I have here. Again, it varies by every it varies by every school just based on what information is up here. So sometimes you'll have a district that might have 2 or 3 schools in it. And so this data is going to drop down a little bit further. But we want to start with our first student that we have. And so for mine, that would be 17 here. And then I would scroll over and I would capture from from column X all the way to column BE. So it'll look something like this. X is question 7, and then BE is going to be question 15. And I'm going to go all the way down and capture all the information that's there. I'm going to copy it. Now you can do Control C to make a copy. And then we're going to paste that into our template that we made a second ago into cell B13. I believe it's going to be labeled green on that template. So let's go ahead and take a look. It's going to be this spot right here. And it's going to be, it was green before, but you can see that I've plugged it in here and it will be in this cell right here. Okay, so now your template is going to look similar to this. You're going to have a bunch of zeros and ones in here. And now we're ready for our next step. Okay, so our next step is we're going to go to the tab titled Fall 2021 Grade 3 ELA. So if we go to the bottom, we were on Import. We're going to go to this tab right here. We'll click on it, and it will bring up a screen that looks similar to the one that you see here. Now, what we want to do is we want to select everything on this tab. So we're going to do that by selecting this cell in the top corner. It's above the one or the label for the rows, and it's beside the label for the columns. So if I click on that, it will highlight everything, and Then I'm going to copy all that information so I can hit Control and C together, and that will copy it. And my next step then is I'll go to this orange cell right here, A1, and it's actually merged with several. So I'm going to click on that, and then I'm going to hit Control, Shift, and V. So this is going to paste just the values. And the reason that I'm going to do that is because in the second, I'm going to delete that student data out, but I want to keep these numbers in here. So I want these to remain after I've deleted that student data out. So when I do that, sometimes what you'll notice is after we delete that out, these numbers that we have here, you'll see that I have a 40 right here and a 60 right here. Those may turn into big long decimals. If that were to happen, you could just highlight that column and then move over the decimal point in there. So in your list of tools at the top of the page, I don't know if I have any that have that highlighted. If I do, I'll point it out later. But there is a cell that would let you just shift the decimal point or the what values you can see after the decimal point. Just makes it look a little cleaner. All right. So now we're going to go back and it should look something like this. So this is our new sheet here. We've plugged in. There's no longer going to be formulas. These are just going to be numbers in here or in these cells here. You're going to notice on this year, we used to just have 0 through 4. That's been expanded, and it has to do with the way that they reported. Um, it has to do with the way that they're reporting that writing. So they used to break the writing question down into 3 sections, and they still kind of do, but they just don't on this report. So they just give a final score for writing that the student got, so many out of 10. So that's why we've expanded it. And you'll be able to see that we have some NAs here, and that just means they weren't possible. We've added this column right here where it says how many points that question is worth. So we can see this question here is 1 point, this one is 2, and so on and so forth all the way down. All right, so our next thing that we want to do is we want to go back to our import tab, and we're going to get rid of all that student data now by deleting rows 10 and below. So everything below row 10, we're going to delete out. If I were to do that, what it should look like is we should have everything hidden except for we should be able to see this last line here where it says fall 2020 item analysis. That should still be left there. And we should have access to it. But all the student information from the 2021 test will be gone. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to make a copy of it. So we're going to make a copy by going File, Make a Copy. And once we make that copy, we can now name that copy whatever we want. And we'll be able to then share it with people. It's not going to have that any individual data on it as far as that goes. So that's why we deleted that out. When we did copy, we were not copying names. We were not copying ID numbers or anything like that, but I still just feel better. Just we don't need that information on here for our sheet. So that's why we deleted it out, made a new copy of it so that that information is not on there. Just cleans it up a little bit. All right, so now that has taken care of the 2021. Now what we want to do is we want to get the previous data. So for the previous data, as I mentioned earlier, that would be your fall 2020, your 2019, your 2018 third grade item analysis report. Many of you did this last year. Members of the Stark County ESC, so you may already have this report. If you do, you can go ahead and skip this part 3, okay? So part 3, I'm just gonna walk you through how to create a 2020 version of this using the ORS, or the online reporting system. Again, this is going to close down January 14th, so it will no longer be available. So if you would like this and you didn't do it last year, it's really imperative that you take care of that in the next couple of days. All right. So there is a new template for that, or an old template, I should say. So this was the 2020 template. If we click on this chip right here, okay, we'll be able to click on that. And then that is going to have a tab for the 18 data, the 19 data, and the 2020 data. So what we'll do is I'll walk you through the online reporting system, how you pull that data out or copy that data out of there, and put it in this. And then we're going to link this template that you just made a copy of into the new one. And then we'll have all of our information together there. Okay, so here's the online reporting system tile. So it was right below the centralized reporting system when we were in the testing portal. So if you go ahead and click on that, it's still going to ask you for your email, your password, your role, just like it did before. So that does not change at all. All right. Once you get in there, then, or once it lets you in, you're going to select score reports. So you're going to have two options there. I think the one is like student performance something. We want the one that says score reports. Then we're going to select an administration of fall 2018. We're going to choose our school or our district, depending on what we're creating an item analysis for. And then we'll click on the button below here. We could actually click on either of these. I put percent proficient, but you could really click on this button here where it says number of students tested. So either one of those were good. I think this Ohio State test, I did not mention that as a step. I think it will already automatically default to that. So we do not have to mess with that. At that point, as soon as we click on the percent proficient or the number of students tested, it will take us to the next slide, which will have our school district, our building, as well as our different rosters for teachers there as well. And next to each of those, we're going to see a magnifying glass. Now, the magnifying glass is what we'll want to click on. Now, depending on your access, if you only have building access and you try to click on the district magnifying glass, it may not do anything. You may have to click on the building one there. I've noticed that happens from time to time. So if I click on the magnifying glass, I'll get a little pop-up screen. And it usually starts out as language arts, usually starts out as third grade. So you should not have to change those. But if for some reason it would pop up as something different, double check that and just make sure it says English language arts third grade. The what column, we're going to want to change that to say items. So you can see right here, I've already changed that to items. When you do that, the who automatically changes to an NA. So you don't have to worry about changing that. It's the what that we're going to change, and we change that to items. Okay. At that point, when you do that, you're going to get some data that comes up. It's going to, start out with reading informational text. And again, I've made up some data here. So with that, we can see that we wouldn't be able to fit this all on one screen. So I've kind of copied and pasted some things here together to make this work. What we'd actually have to do is you're going to have to scroll down, but you want to start capturing where it says reading informational text. And then you want to go all the way down to the bottom, the last value that's under writing in the 4-point column. We want to capture all of that. So we'll highlight all of it. We'll hit Control C, and then we're going to go back to our template, and in cell A1 on the tab that says Fall 2018, Grade 3 ELA, we're going to hit Control V to paste that in there. Okay, so this is what our template looks like. These are 3 of our 4 slides. So you can see For the 18 tab, it's going to say paste fall 2018 here. And then paste fall 2019 here. That will be on the 19 tab. And then the 20 tab is going to look a little different when you get there. So it's kind of the basic setup that we're used to seeing, but it's not until we get down to A5. This is where we're going to paste it down here, because these other two, they didn't have that background or that title and things like that. So we're going to paste it right here. And at that point, so basically, if you were to go back through, you're going to have to copy and paste for each year. So if I come back to this tab here, I would change fall 2018 to fall 2019, and go through the process again, copy and paste that into my template there. Okay, so once we've done all that, we're going to go to the top of the page and we're going to copy the URL and we're going to paste that into in our next step. So if you've already created, or if you did this last year, you don't need to go through this step. So what we just did here, again, you would not have to do this again if you already have this information from last year. All right, so our next step then is we're going to take the URL. Now, if you did not do part 3 because you already have it from last year, what you're going to do is you're going to go and copy the URL from your 2020 third grade item analysis report. We're going to paste it in this blue box here. Okay, so we got a blue box here. We're going to paste it in there. As soon as we do that, in cell K9, you're going to notice that there's going to be a little symbol here that says pound sign or hashtag REF exclamation point. If you were to hover over that, you're going to get this little pop-up window here. I know it's a little fuzzy. It didn't copy as clearly as I'd like it to, but you're going to click allow access. And then what that's going to do is that's going to link your previous item analysis to your new item analysis that you have here. So it's going to bring that other information in. All right, so let's then jump to the actual item analysis. So if we then jump to the analysis tab at the bottom, you may have to hit the reload button. So sometimes it doesn't, it just needs refreshed. So if you hit the refresh, if you notice some things aren't coming over, just hit that refresh and it will take care of this. All right, so here's what we end up having. So as we look at that item analysis or that analysis tab, it should be the third one over. What we're going to see is the first couple of columns here. We have a blue, a red, a yellow, and a green. Those are going to represent the item numbers on each test. So on the 2018 test, questions 3, 17, and 29 were all under the standard RL 3.1. In 2019, question 3 and question 7 were, and in year 20, there was only one question, and that was question 9. And then in 2021, this previous, or just a few weeks ago when we took this, the only question in that standard was question 5. Okay. Now let's scroll over a little further. And now we're looking at column H, I, J, and K. And this is looking at the percent of students that scored 0 or got 0 points on each of those questions from before. So 34%, 86%, 71, or when we're looking at, I think I said it was question 5, 80% of our students got a 0 on that. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and scroll over one more section. Okay. Actually, this is what it'll look like in writing. So I want to bring this to your attention. In writing, previously, it broke it down into 3 different areas there. So conventions was down here. It was only worth 2 points. And what we were doing here is the percentage here was much lower of the percent that were earning 0. So this kind of changed the average that we might see. So whereas this year, what we're seeing is we're only getting the total number. So what most people I think are going to notice is when they look at their writing, when we actually get to the graph of the writing, that bar is going to look a little bit higher. And this is the average there. Um, so let me jump over here to the average as well. That being said, I do want you to notice that writing will look a little different. When we look at columns M, N, O, and P, this is what we're looking at. So this is the average. Now in 18, we knew there was 3 questions. So we just averaged those together, and this is the percentage that got 0. 19, I think I said there were 2 questions. So this is the average of these two. In 20 and 21, there was only 1 question. So what we did is we just, that's the percentage that got a 0 on that question. So we can see each of those. If we click on previously released questions, this is going to be basically from the spring and from the practice test, but we can click on this link and see what questions have they asked in the past for this standard. There were none released for the fall, but that might give you some things to look at, to work with your students on, to try out, just as some extra practice. They're all released questions, and you should be able to click on that, and then you could copy and paste them, and work on them together as a class or maybe an intervention, something like that. Okay. So then if we scroll over, oh, actually, I forgot to copy that. So if you scroll over a little further, what you'll notice is that there will be some graphs there. And what we're doing there is we're graphing these numbers here. So we're graphing the percent of the average of the percent of students that scored 0. So we really want those bars to be low as we're looking at that. Okay. So that will give you an idea of how to create an item analysis and pull multiple years together. Hope this was helpful to you. We really appreciate you spending a little bit of time with us as you put this together. If by chance you do run into any problems, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm happy to help you out with this process. And we know that this tool has been very valuable in the past, and we hated to see that that it wasn't available in the new centralized reporting system. So hopefully, this little these steps will help us to be able to recreate that. Okay. As always, thank you for joining us. Hope you have a wonderful day.